Hyundai's admitted that SUVs are where it needs to improve the most, so what better way to start than with a brand new SUV? It's the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Today we get the first Australian drive, so let's set off and see if it's any good. I'm going to be 100% honest, I wasn't really sold on the design of the new Santa Fe when I first saw it in pictures, but here in person it looks fantastic. So split headlight design, up the top there you've got the LED daytime running lights, and then down the bottom the main beam and then the high beam. This particular car here, the Highlander, comes with adaptive LED headlights, so they definitely stand out. Let's talk dimensions, just under 4.8 metres long, which means it's about 70 mil longer than the old one. Now, that may seem like a lot, but it still falls behind things like Kluger and CX-9 in terms of size. But despite that, Hyundai has managed to provide the same amount of shoulder room here in the third row, and they've also increased this glass house by about 40%. The rear has also been restyled. Let's check it out. LED tail lights, they look really cool at night time, but the only downside is that the indicator's built into the bottom here, and it's non-LED. I mean, if you've gone to the effort of doing LED everywhere else, why would you not do that? Anyway, boot. It is a powered tailgate, which is really handy. And then when it does open, you get 547 litres of cargo space there, and it expands to over 1,600 litres when you drop the second row. In terms of dropping the second row, one push of a button and it disappears. The whole space is about 40 litres more than the previous generation Santa Fe. Full-size spare tyre lives underneath the car. Third row's tucked in there nicely, and in terms of towing capacity, we're talking 2,000 kilos braked. But the downside is that you can only get 150 kilograms downball weight, which means you're kind of breaking that 10% rule. Now, while the second row is going to be mainly used by kids, let's see if yours truly fits in the back there. Your kids are going to absolutely love it back here. But before we get into some of the creature comforts, let's have a look at the room. So this chair is quite far back in my normal driving position, and as you can see, I've got stacks of knee room. Headroom's okay. If you're a little taller, you're going to find yourself rubbing up against that, but toe room's good as well. Let's have a look at some of the cool things you have back here. So mat pockets, you've got storage here, 2 USB chargers, you have rear air vents, center armrest over here, 2 cup holders as well. Isofix on the outboard seats, and these rows move, so you can get more boot room if you want, and there's also that clever folding mechanism to get access to the third row. You've got heated seats as well, storage in the door pockets, but my favourite feature is this roof. So panoramic glass roof there, which is great, but this here, so this material it's kind of like the material you find in a BMW i3. It's like that recycled material. You can also get suede as well. So this is the first time Hyundai's really jumped into that customization field, so you can make this car feel like your own. And have a look at this. I can shift that passenger seat forward as well. This may look a little bit familiar, and that's because that infotainment screen looks quite similar to the one they've fitted to the i30. It's a bit of a love and hate relationship. I think it looks okay, but some people aren't quite sold on the fact that you've got this like little computer up the top of the dashboard. But either way, across the Santa Fe range, you've got 7 and 8-inch screens, and they all come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This one here in the Highlander also comes with inbuilt satellite navigation. Super easy to use. You just flick through the menus and it's quite fast as well. Let's talk about some of the other tech. You've got 2 USB ports and a very cool feature, wireless phone charging. So all you do is whack your phone down there, it'll start charging and you don't need to worry about anything. Lots of storage too, cup holders, decent sized center console there, and a good sized glove box as well. Safety is big in the Santa Fe, and they've gone to town on some of the features. So over here I've got a button. Now normally that would just eliminate the use of the rear windows. This also locks the doors, which means you don't have that fiddly child lock system. There's also a really clever safety initiative that prevents the doors being opened if there's another car coming. So if you're one of those kids that loves to rush out of the car before dad's put it in park, you won't be able to do it anymore. You've got self-parking, a 360-degree camera. You've also got this fantastic new heads-up display and a big LCD screen in front of the driver. So it is comprehensively loaded with features and tech. Now, how does the Santa Fe drive? That is one of the most important questions. Let's hit the road and find out. Santa Fe launches in Australia with 2 engines. So you've got a naturally aspirated petrol, which is a 2.4 litre, makes 138 kilowatts of power, 241 newton meters of torque, and it uses a 6-speed automatic gearbox. That one's only available in the base model and only with all-wheel drive. You've also got a diesel, a 2.2 litre, 147 kilowatts of power, 440 newton meters of torque, and it's mated to a new gearbox for Hyundai. It is an 8-speed automatic. Absolute cracker. That engine, it just goes to town on torque. So the second you get stuck into it, throws you back in the seat, and it feels like it's never ending, which is exactly what you want from an SUV. Ride and handling, it's something that Hyundai prides itself on in Australia, and that's because the brand spends over $1 million each year doing ride and handling tuning on all the cars that come into Oz. Santa Fe is no exception. Yesterday, we did some of the worst roads I've ever driven on. They were full of potholes, bumps, all this sort of stuff. The car took it on without any dramas, and that tells you that when it is in and around the city, it's going to handle things like speed humps and school drop-off without any dramas. And if you want to get away on the weekend and find some corners, it's going to be just as happy on those roads. So we know the ride's good. Road noise is pretty good as well. We did hear a little bit of buffeting coming in through the windows, and this diesel engine can be just a touch noisy at times, but when you've got the stereo on, no one's ever going to know, and it's really quite a nice cruiser out on the highway. What about safety tech? Hyundai has absolutely loaded this thing with safety, and it's great to see. It means you're getting stuff like AEB, autonomous emergency braking. That's the tech that's going to stop the car if you don't. And it looks out for things like pedestrians as well, and cars up to 160 kilometers an hour. Has some clever blind spot detection systems as well. So instead of just getting a flash and a warning when you are going to merge into another car, this can actually prevent you merging into another car. So I mean, all of this stuff you shouldn't have to rely on, but it is there regardless. Hyundai prides itself on warranty, and this car is no different. 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. You also have service pricing that is consistent, so you know how much it's going to set you back, and servicing every 12 months as well, which is always good news. Visibility out of this cabin is fantastic. Out the front there I can see everything, out the back I can see everything. The sides are good too. When I was in the third row there just for a little while, visibility was also good. So I mentioned earlier, you have a bigger glass house, which means your passengers won't feel as claustrophobic being stuck in the back there. Parking is a breeze thanks to automatic parking, front and rear parking sensors, and an excellent 360-degree camera. In fact, you can even select the different views as you're driving, so you really have every single angle around this car catered for. The heads-up display Hyundai uses here is fantastic. So it comes with speed and navigation information. So everything is loaded there in front of the driver. And then on the Highlander model, you've got a screen in front of you that is a big LCD display that shows everything from trip computer to other critical controls. So it really feels like you're driving a high-tech car. Are you glued to your smartphone? Well, good news if you own a Santa Fe, because it comes with a feature called Auto Link that allows you to connect to the phone remotely. You can start it, you can see the levels. It's quite a clever system and something you find on cars like BMWs. So it's good to see the Koreans are investing in this smart tech. Hyundai's all-wheel drive system is called H-Track, and what it does is it displays on this screen here where the torque's going, so you can always see where it's being shuffled around the car. It does a really good job of getting the car stable on loose surfaces like gravel. And then of course you can change drive modes as well, which adjusts the way the steering feels and how sharp that throttle response is. Right, so what about the negatives? Well, there are a couple here. Yesterday I noticed some rack rattle coming through one of the cars that we were testing. I don't know if it was isolated to just that car, but you did notice it when you were going over some bumpy roads with some steering input. Hyundai's looking into that at the moment to see whether it is something common across the cars or just that one car we were driving. And I did notice a little bit of scratchy plastic around here. Overall, the cabin is built really well, but it's just little things like that that are quite niggly. What about the V6? Nowhere to be found. Unfortunately, they're only building it for the left-hand drive market, and that's despite the fact the car being quite popular in Australia when it was here last. There's also currently no two-wheel drive models. Obviously, they will come eventually, but I thought it would have been a smart idea to perhaps offer all of that to start with. Santa Fe is now on sale in Australia. If you have any questions or think we've missed anything, please feel free to get in touch, leave us a comment. Head to caradvice.com to see other Hyundai news, and don't forget to subscribe.